Do you ever feel that you understand a literary text, but when you have to talk about it in English, your mind goes blank? That's the real problem in literature exams. Not knowledge, but how to organize your ideas and express them clearly at B2 level. In this video, we'll solve that problem step by step. You'll learn a simple mind map method and essential B2 phrases that will help you analyze Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde confidently in an oral test or written exam. Hello, lovely learners. I'm Anna from LNT.
And I'm Annie, an old friend of Anna's and a new friend of LNT. Today we'll focus on just 3 key elements: the title, the setting, and the themes, so you don't feel overwhelmed and you can actually use what you learn.
Annie will explain the literary concepts clearly, and I'll show you how to map them visually and which phrases teachers and examiners expect at B2 level.
And if you want the complete analysis in all 8 literary elements, plus the empty mind map and phrase sheet, you can get them for free on our website, literaturenotrouble.com.
Let's build a study method that actually works. Let's get started. The first literary element is the title, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
When discussing the core elements of this novella, it's widely accepted that the title immediately tells the reader to expect a mystery. The strange case of suggests a formal investigation, possibly legal or medical. Then the 2 names, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, show the main conflict. Dr. Jekyll represents the respectable man, while Hyde, coming from the Old English word to hide, represents the concealed dark side of human nature. This duality is the foundation of the entire story.
Excellent. Let's clarify 2 quick points for our map. First, a novella is just a short novel, shorter than a novel but longer than a short story. Second, the word case suggests a police investigation, which is how Stevenson hooks the reader into a detective structure. Now the mind map. Under the branch title, mark these key concepts. The strange case of, with the concept mystery and investigation. Dr. Jekyll, with the keywords respectable, good side. Mr. Hyde, with the keywords hidden, dark side. Under both names, write duality and conflict. When you look at the title, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you can immediately use this expression.
It is widely accepted that,
for example, you could say,
it is widely accepted that the title prepares the reader for a mystery.
Then connect the names.
Dr. Jekyll represents the respectable good side, whereas Mr. Hyde represents the hidden dark side.
Finally, you can highlight the big idea.
This highlights the idea that human nature is divided into 2 opposing sides.
By using these phrases, you move smoothly from the words on the mind map to a full oral explanation. Be creative and craft your own text, but keep it simple and clear. Now, let's look at the setting. In literature, the setting isn't always a backdrop. It often functions as a tool to contrast the characters' lives.
We can see this through the physical layout of Jekyll's property. The front of the house is in a wealthy area of London, representing his public, respectable life. However, it is physically connected to a neglected laboratory with a blistered and disdained door, described and called laboratory or dissecting rooms. This layout highlights the idea that the 2 sides of Jekyll's personality are inseparable. Furthermore, the use of fog and night creates a Gothic atmosphere which helps build the sense of mystery and secrecy essential to the plot.
For the setting branch, we will categorize the keywords into setting in place and setting in time. For the setting in place, draw 2 arrows under the subtitle. On one side, you'll have public space with the keywords townhouse, wealthy area, respectability. On the other side, the keywords will be private hidden space, laboratory, dissecting rooms. Under the title setting, you'll add another branch entitled Setting in Time. Just under that, write atmosphere, and then the keywords dense fog, darkness, nighttime, the Gothic elements. To illustrate this mind map, you can start by saying,
the setting isn't just the background, it shows us the split in Jekyll's world.
Go on with a phrase like,
we can see this through,
and give an example.
We can see this through the physical layout of Jekyll's house. The townhouse shows respectability, while the laboratory shows the hidden side.
Then you can connect it to the setting in time atmosphere.
This highlights the idea that the dense fog and darkness create a Gothic feeling of mystery and danger.
Using these expressions lets you explain not just what the setting is, but why it matters for understanding the story. Let's talk about the third literary element, the themes. The idea of duality serves as the central theme of the novella, illustrated through 3 interconnected layers. Duality in human nature.
Stevenson explores the conflict between opposing internal forces, suggesting that every individual possesses both a good and an evil side.
Then the criticism of the Victorian compromise.
This internal duality is mirrored in the Victorian compromise. Think of this as a social mask. People wore a good mask in public. Most people maintained a respectable public image, attending church, hard work, and so on, but hid their true self in their dark desires in private. By using Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde to represent the public and private selves, Stevenson critiques the hypocrisy of a society that forces its citizens to lead double lives.
Finally, the danger of scientific progress.
The novella addresses the Victorian belief in unlimited progress. While the era celebrated the scientific advancement, the final disaster of Jekyll's death serves as a stark warning. It suggests that progress becomes dangerous when science interferes with moral and psychological boundaries. Jekyll's failure proves that trying to divide human nature through science leads to destruction rather than perfection.
Now for the map. Under the main heading Themes, create 3 primary branches. This visualizes the 3 interconnected layers Annie described. The first branch, duality in human nature, with the key concepts conflict, opposing forces, good side, evil side. Here's a tip for you. Use a double-headed arrow symbol between good and evil to show the conflict. For the second branch, the Victorian compromise, here are the key concepts. Social mask, public image, church, work, private desires, hypocrisy, double lives. You can connect this to setting with the townhouse and the laboratory. Use a dotted line to do so. For the third branch, the danger of scientific progress, here are the key concepts. Myth of progress, moral boundaries, interference, final disaster. Outcome, destruction versus perfection. Here's another tip for you. Draw a warning sign next to final disaster to emphasize the author's message. Themes are where your analysis becomes really impressive. You can start with,
one of the central themes of the novella is,
for example,
one of the central themes of the novella is duality in human nature. shown through the conflict between Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Then connected to society.
This highlights the idea that people in Victorian society wore social masks, showing a public self and hiding private desires.
And finally, linked to the warning about science.
The final disaster serves as a warning that progress can be dangerous when it interferes with moral boundaries.
These useful expressions help you turn the mind map into clear, confident speech. Well, lovely learners, our map is now complete. If you use it for an oral test or as a study guide, keep it simple. Use the concepts on the map to remind you of the facts and use our B2 phrases to connect them. If you forget a word, just look at your map and say, this highlights the idea that. It gives you a second to remember your next point. Here's a challenge for you.
Quick question for your oral test. Do you think Jekyll is a victim or a villain? Tell me in the comments using the phrase, to some extent.
Find the complete analysis, the final empty mind map you can complete while watching the video, and the phrase sheet right now via the link below. If you want to use the same analysis method on another Victorian classic, click on the screen for our video on the picture of Dorian Gray. L&T, where literature meets clarity. Stay lit.